Relearning Communication: A Journey Begun is all about taking my life and how I've kind of learned to communicate as on-the-job training and subjecting that to some scrutiny. Communication is not just a skill to be taken for granted, and Stewart tells us that the quality of our communication directly impacts the quality of our relationships and the quality of our lives. I believe that that's true. So my overarching goal taking this class is to become a master communicator. There's a number of things that I'm going to do to make that happen. We'll discuss those a little bit later. So my personality, from what Carbonell tells me, is made up of two different types. The steady, confident type, which is naturally passive and reserved in ways that others usually find appealing, quiet and helpful, fact-driven, committed to accuracy. I'm not naturally one to enjoy crowds or speaking in front of groups of people. I'm generally warm, caring, and law-abiding, which I think is good. I'm also most comfortable dealing with the facts, but not necessarily dealing with people. The other side to my personality is what they call a competent influencing specialist. That is, that many of the other facets of my personality have been kind of tweaked or added to in order for me to function. I see this one as maybe reflecting me a little bit better than the other, but it says that I'm strong with my people skills and I'm well liked, that I'm able to impress crowds, and that I'm good with my speaking skills, that I'm able to make friends easily, that I'm outgoing and reserved as required in relationships, that I'm popular with others as long as I avoid being overly critical in my speech or using complaint, and that I'm rarely demanding unless there's disinformation being shared. I'm a problem solver who is not patient with rambling or slow-acting leadership. These two blend together, and unfortunately in that blending together, they accentuate some problems that create difficulties for me to communicate. Some of those issues within communication involve a critical spirit or a critical nature where I begin to judge people as opposed to facts or ideas. My insecurities and fear can cause me to make mistakes. I can be very heavily impacted by negative feedback from people that I have some degree of respect for. This can paralyze me and cause me to doubt myself. I don't empathize well. I don't forgive easily. I'm often blunt in what I say and cutting. I can be very stubborn and resistant to change, and I speak way too quickly, and I'm way too slow to listen. In fact, that was one of the things that Carbonell and Queendom both pointed out, was that listening was the weakness. Why? Why are these things a part of who I am? Well, I've got them listed out, but basically I believe it's issues with pride, with a tainted self-image, with over-reliance on myself and past baggage, a failure to recognize my own flaws, so I have difficulty being empathetic with people, unforgiveness related to the fact that God's mercy seems to only be something for me and doesn't have to flow through me to others. And then I tend to see people through issues as opposed to the other way around. Relationship needs to have the priority. And I tend to not trust God, not trust others, and sometimes not trust myself. So how do I deal with these things? What are some of the solutions to the internal and external pollution that's corrupting my communication? I believe that partially I need to isolate the messages, the empathy from the rational. I need to understand that individuals need to be seen as neutral, that I shouldn't see people as threats, that I should assume the best in others and not take offense even when offense is intended. Beware of competitive conversations. I tend to be a sparring partner very easily. Listen for underlying messages and recognize that often the dissonance and the bias is something I've brought into the conversation myself. I need to be more reliant on the Holy Spirit. to show me who I am and who I need to become. So I want to develop a better self-identity, and to do that I believe I need peers and my close friends and those that have intimate connections to me, and others to give me feedback to help me to understand myself better. This directly reflects the Johari window and the fact that we only know ourselves based on what other people tell us about ourselves. I need to also expose myself more to the influence of the Holy Spirit in this area because He's the one that knows me best. I need to become a more effective listener. This is one thing that was pointed out in a big way. And so I need to practice these skills that I've learned. In everyday interactions, I need to learn to use the method listening and the cards to go back and to use the exercises within Burley Allen and to develop the habit of asking clarifying questions when I don't understand someone. I also need to learn how to inhale and exhale information in a smooth and fluid sort of way. I need to hear the underlying heart message that's being put out, and I need to do this in a routine way so that inhaling, exhaling, and repeating, and inhaling and exhaling and repeating becomes a very smooth and easy part of my life. I need to be open to change. I'm very resistant to change. Change threatens me, so I need to actually expose myself to opportunities to change. I need to deal with the habits that I've come about over the years and be willing to take those habits and examine them and throw them away when they don't apply. Finally, I need to use my skills to better the lives of other people. And in bettering their lives, I'm going to better my own. I'm going to improve my communication by building on the strengths that I already know that I have, the strengths that have been pointed out to me repeatedly. I need to seek practice of those skills. I need to be a student of people, and I need to be open to mentoring, because I know mentoring is something that's taught me a tremendous amount. When Sean and I visited the Chardon Square after the shootings that T.J. Ward did in the high school, I learned a tremendous amount from him. I saw the kids gravitate to him and begin to relate to him, and some talked for the first time in days, just talking to the dog, loving on him. He created a bridge, a window, and they began to talk to us, and I began to be able to have the opportunity to pray with them and to communicate with them and to see what their needs were. That taught me more than anything else that I need to be more empathetic toward people. There's one who speaks rashly like a piercing sword, it says in the book of Proverbs, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. I want to be that wise healer, and I believe that this class has given me some of the tools that I need to make that happen. And I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.